it came out that the original story that Marvel was pushing for was a Daredevil Spider-Man team-up movie where they would take on Kingpin, and Sony says, no, we need morbid time in there. All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. If you're watching this the day that it drops, welcome in. I'm back into my old chair.
Yeah, what happened?
It didn't look right in the editing, and when I had already set it all up last episode, so I wasn't going to revert it. But I'm still on the lookout for a matching chair, or a close to matching at least.
So we're down the same stratosphere.
Yeah, now we're back. We're on the same level. I just had to ego check you for a week.
All right.
That's what it was.
Fair.
I thought you were getting a little out of hand with some of your takes. So
I had to put me in my place.
but welcome in, everybody. Got an interesting, unique episode. Doing something a little bit different. A lot of news coming, but if you like what you see, subscribe for more content just like this, and other types of content like Comic-Con vlogs, and other things like that. So if you like comics, if you like comic book movies, you're in the right place. So subscribe for sure.
Right on.
And if you're super into the content, this content specifically, then you can join the channel for $2.99 a month, and you'll get extended episodes for, I'll say, a vast majority of episodes. There might be some episodes where we don't record an extended, but we'll always plan on doing an extended, barring any situation where we need to not. But yeah, for $2.99 a month, you'll get like averaging 4 episodes a month. So you'll get 4 extended episodes. You'll get all the episodes, all the issues early. So as soon as I'm done editing them and I upload them, you'll get them immediately. You won't have to wait till Monday. So we record on Friday, so you can probably get it Saturday, Sunday, or early Monday morning.
Yeah. It's the NFL season, so maybe early Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly. So, also Discord link is in the description. Just a cool place to talk, hang out. Been talking about pressing, whitening, the effect of like whitening comic books, and some people sharing their experiences with that. So if you just want a nice exclusive forum to this community, talking comics,
Jump in.
Yeah, jump in, hit the link, and join down below. That's all the news I have for now. This week, actually, a video will be dropping where I interview the oldest comic book shop owner in New York City. Sorry, not the oldest comic book shop owner. The owner of the oldest comic book shop in New York.
He just opened the comic shop last weekend, but he is 102 years old. So
he finally got to his dream. So I went to New York a little while ago, and I had a chance to interview Gus of Silver Age Comics, who owns the oldest comic shop in New York. There is another one that is a contender. They're not exactly sure. Gus, when I interviewed him, conceded the oldest shop to him, but I don't know. You guys can let me know. This person owned the shop, stopped doing business for a while, and then reopened. So I would say that in that sense, Gus is the oldest.
yeah, I mean, a little hiccup, but I mean, if you're going from when it started, as long as it wasn't like a 5-year hiccup or something.
Yeah. Oh no, I think it was like a significant amount of time.
I don't know. Well, we'll let the community decide.
Yeah, but it's debated because they were essentially opening at the same time.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, Gus is the kind of guy who would defer to the other side. He's like a really cool dude. He's a really nice guy. Yeah.
So, anyways, let's get into show and tell. So I'll crack us open here.
All right.
So this is my first Raw.
Yeah.
I have not done a Raw book yet. And what I have here is the Mexico variant. I guess the paper could be Mexican, but The book itself isn't Mexican.
You're full of all kind of interesting linguistic twists this morning.
I'm just I was writing last night, so now I'm just I'm trying to be thoughtful about words here. They got the Mexico variant, and this is of Avengers 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, 8, 5
or 8. Sorry, okay. I always do that. I don't know why. I literally always call first appearance of Kang Avengers 5. There's like YouTube videos where I've talked about it, and just like unchecked, I've called it Avengers 5.
I've done plenty of that myself. I have these little things that I keep well-worn tracks of error that I can't get out of.
But I'm trying to figure out like where it comes from.
Well, 8s and 5s kind of look alike.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. They're a little round.
The older I get, the worse my eyesight gets. They look a lot more like.
But yeah, so just a really cool cover. Honestly, like kind of better than the first one.
What's the date? When
1981.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. But cool. My favorite part of this book, let me just remove this tape real quick, is the back.
Wow.
So I believe.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Rama-Tut and Doom?
And Doom, yeah.
Oh, man, that's cool.
So you guys can fact check me here, because I didn't look this up before I brought this book out. But I believe this is like the splash page of Avengers 8. Or it's like it's from the book somewhere. I believe it's the splash page. But yeah, so Mexico variant of Avengers 8. You want to take a look at it?
Yeah, definitely.
I got that off eBay a while ago. I bought that, the first appearance of Ravonna Renslayer and Hulk. Oh, I'm blanking on the issue. It's a 15-cent issue, and it's where Kang has like the numbers coming down on Hulk, and Hulk's being like crushed by the numbers.
Wow.
I'll throw the picture up on screen. But yeah, I'm a big Kang fan. I think he was just surrounded by a lot of unfortunate events. And I think it's really unfortunate that we're not going to see the Kang storyline to its complete, to its fruition. I think he's a villain that's deserving of it. Because honestly, he has had probably some of the most run-ins with the Avengers in comics from, top 10 issue. Yeah. So he's an early villain, a lot in the 80s, some in the 90s, and then in the 2000s he was used a lot as a main villain of the Avengers. So he's a great villain, very well written. And it's unfortunate that he's going to get kicked to the curb. But hopefully in the future, we'll get another take on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully sooner than later. But we'll see.
I mean, so this came out in Mexico the year I started collecting, 1981.
Oh, wow.
So if, how old would I have been? Like 13, 14? Yeah. If I had chosen then to make my first trip to Tijuana, I might have picked one up. But that was about 7 years into the future.
Yeah.
But that's a cool book, man.
Yeah. So they gave me, it took like a month and a half for all these to get to me. But they gave me like 3 books, Mexico variants. I got them all for like $100.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, that's a dangerous road to step on, the road of international variants, because you might, that's a whole nother arena. Like it's like original art. If you go down that road, you're going to spend a lot of money. There's so many cool international variants that I look at and I just go, man, that would be nice to have, but I can't. If I start looking at there, I'm going to,
The thing is, I don't think it's worth the money most of the time. People are like, low print run, French version. And I'm like, why is this almost as much as the original? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
No, I don't think it should be, unless it's very close date wise, but that's usually it isn't.
Yeah.
Right.
The thing I loved about this book was when the colors are so cool. The orange and the red, and then the splash page on the back cover. Like, cool. That's why I have it on the clear backing board. Like, it's just,
that's really nice.
It's different. It's unique for sure.
Yeah.
I think another cool one is the the Dazzler one, the French Dazzler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is cool. Yeah.
I haven't seen an International Daredevil one that I've been like, oh, I need to have that one. So,
all right, well, it's coming. All right.
I need to make a quick light switch.
Okay.
Because I forgot to put our lighting on. There we go.
All right. How do we look now? Better?
Better, yeah.
Okay. Is it my turn?
Your turn.
All right. So this show and tell, I've been on a self-imposed comic buying diet for about 10 days. So for me, that feels like an eternity. You know, I bought a few new things, but I haven't bought any back issues. But that's not to say that ones I have purchased that aren't still arriving. And this one arrived yesterday, and I got home last night, and I found it and I opened it. And the reason I'm showing this one is because I know very little about this book, even though I just spent a couple $100 for it.
Oh my gosh.
But I think it really underscores what I think, one of the things I think is so cool about collecting comic books. And that is you have your things on your want list, but you always have to leave room for that thing that you spot that you just go, that's cool. I want it. And I'd like to add that to my collection as something brand new. And this one, okay, it's Parole Breakers.
What the heck?
Parole Breakers issue 2. Okay. Can we just not like respect the cover for a second? Like, is that not like a striking cover?
Yeah, it's cool.
It's really cool, right? This is 1952. For April 1952, the publisher is Avon. I mean, I'm not sure it's the same like as the Avon lady Avon, but it's Avon is the publisher. It is the cover actually, the female figure on the cover comes from a paperback book that was published like 10 years earlier, I think. And it's noted up here that this is lifted from a book, a paperback book, kind of a pulp book sort of thing, but actual paperback, not a pulp. But anyway, I was watching a claim sale, and it was a Code Blue Comics, and this thing popped up, and it's just something. I don't have anything in my collection like this. It's almost sort of feels like true crime, but it's not. But it's all about people who like read the top. What does it say on the very top there? It's hilarious.
Where?
Just above the trade dress.
Oh,
yeah.
Back behind prison bars because they wouldn't go straight.
It's so 1950s, and it's like these cautionary tales. It's I don't know if the whole run, and it's not a very long run, is all femme fatales or not, but I was kind of arrested, no pun intended, by the colors and the striking nature of that cover, and I thought I really want that, and he was asking more than that for it, and in the end he threw it up as an auction at the end of the claim sale, and I dropped a bid, and I was the only one who bid on it, because it's a very unique thing. It's not something that you would typically have on your want list. It's kind of
I don't know if this is the cover, but did you see who did the art? Look at the second name.
Oh yeah,
Joe Kubert.
Joe Kubert,
father to Andy Kubert.
They have that school of comic book art,
Joe
right?
Kubert School of Art.
Yeah, Joe Kubert School of Art. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. 1952 Kubert art, right?
Huh.
But when I put it, on my wall of comics, of slabs at home, it just nestled in so nicely. It's just a cool book, an interesting cover. It's not going to have a lot on this census because how many people slab it, so I don't take any pride in not that there are few on the census, but I take pride in owning this book because I think it's a really unique slice of really kind of 40s, but it's published in 52, but it feels like a 1940s kind of Americana, a slice of Americana from the 40s noir crime thing and the femme fatales. Yeah. And it wasn't that expensive. It was all part of this. And this is the reason why I'm on this diet right now. This comic diet is just before the school year started. I went on a mini binge. And, it was kind of like I had such a great summer and I don't want it to end. So, let me emotionally buy a few books.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've all been there, right? But this was included in that binge, I suppose. It's going to last one to arrive. And But I'm really happy that I picked this book up.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. I tried to look up if Kubert did the cover art or if it was just interiors, but I couldn't find anything. Well, and a white pager.
Yeah, white pages, right? And I am now on the lookout for a raw one if it ever shows up cheap, because I do want to now read it. I want to see what it looks like. I'm intrigued by it, but I'm not going to break the slab for it.
Yeah.
But anyway, just a fun book, and it's just it's what comic book collecting and investing. At different times, it's different things to all of us, right? It can be investing, it can be collecting, but sometimes, like you asked me before. Sometimes, hey, so what are you looking for at this particular convention? And a lot of times I have a list. Most of the time I have a list, but sometimes I know at least once or twice I've said to you, I'm kind of just going to be, led sort of by my emotions on this. I'm going to be more of an emotional buyer, which can land you in bad spots sometimes. But also I think that's part of the fun for me, to allow for the opportunity to say, this isn't on my list, but I really want to take that book home.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah, that's what it's about.
That's right.
All right. Before we go into news, I got a package this morning. So let's cap off show and tell. Let's do a quick unboxing.
I kind of like these spontaneous unboxings. It's 2 in a row now.
Yeah, 2 in a row.
I mean, I knocked on the door coming in. I'm like, hey, there's a box out here for you.
So this, I think I sent you the wrong price. I paid $31 for both of these slabs before taxes and shipping. So one of them...
That's so insane.
One of them was priced at $22.
Okay.
And the other was priced at $9.
$9 for a slab.
For a 9/8 slab. And also...
What?
This company, the best packaging and shipping for slabs.
Yeah, that's nice. Oh my, okay. That's a cool box.
They got the box, and then in here, it's like foam on the corners.
Wow.
Yeah, it's no joke. How are you guys liking the unboxing ASMR?
Nice. I think for all of us who buy comics and have them delivered, it's a really satisfying ASMR because we're like Pavlov's dog. We associate a new comic book with the sound of tape ripping and bubble wrap being torn by the tape off of bubble wrap. And what's the company that you bought from?
My Comic Book Shop or something like that.
Wow.
They post on eBay. They're kind of overpriced on eBay, but if you go to their website, they have everything cheaper.
I mean, $9 for a slab is basically giving it away.
$22 for a slab is basically giving it away too.
In any condition, let alone a 9.8. So I'm very curious.
All right, so I don't know which one's which. I'll let you know what I paid for.
Careful with that. Careful with the knife.
Okay. So this was the $9 slab. So both of these actually are CBCS slabs. And this first one beautiful is Eternals 2 from 2006 from the Neil Gaiman run.
Wow.
So
that's pretty.
This whole run, I've been wanting to collect this whole run for a while. But honestly, every time I see it, like at cons, it's like $15 a book raw. So I saw this for $9, $9.8. Like I'm probably not going to get the rest slapped because they're not like that. They're just not crazy like that. But yeah. So that's my kickoff to getting that run. I want to read it too. So that's another reason why I won't get them slabbed.
Right.
But that one, I mean, you can't pass up a $9, $9.8.
Not if it's something that you're looking for. Why would you?
Even if I'm not looking for it, I don't know that I would pass
Remember
it
we were
up.
at what was the con? Was it Cocktails and Comics where we came across the bin of $20 slabs?
Oh yeah,
that was crazy.
I just had to buy it.
You're like,
no, it wasn't. It was 2 for $20. Wasn't it?
Yeah, two for $20 slabs at this vendor. So I'm looking through, going, well, if there's anything that remotely catches my eye, I have to get it.
Yeah.
That's really nice. And I do like the way these feel.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that?
All right. And this next one I got for $22. Honestly, this feels like robbery. This is a David Mack cover, Daredevil 19 from volume 2 of the run. I mean, 9.8 for a David Mack Daredevil cover. Like, let's get real for a second.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
What?
Yeah, I think I paid that much just for that book.
Yeah, same. This is. I'm trying to remember the issues. I think it's like 16 through 19 through 20. I don't really remember. One of the best comic book reads I've ever had in my entire life. It's short. It's only a few issues. It's kind of just thrown in the middle of issue 2 there, or volume 2. But the story mainly follows Ben Urich. So it's kind of after the whole Echo and introduction of Echo. And you just follow Ben Urich for a while.
Gorgeous. I heard that and
it's really heartwarming.
The Marvel
too.
Knights collection of storylines from that era is something that Netflix may be pursuing, right? Isn't that? I'm not wrong about that.
Probably not Netflix anymore. Disney Plus.
I mean Disney. Yeah, not Netflix.
Yeah,
Disney
perhaps.
Plus. Yeah, that they're going to go diving into that storyline. So, and those characters, because that would be Daredevil, Moon Knight, Black Panther, Iron Fist, Luke Cage. All those guys got Marvel Knights treatment, and there's a couple others I'm not thinking of, but I just recently watched a video about that. I'm like, that'd be cool. Get them while they're cheap.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
I highly recommend that run. It truly, like, it almost brought me to tears. Like, it's about Frogman, like kind of a laughable Daredevil villain, and one that Disney Plus made laughable, like in the She-Hulk show, and in the run, it's just like a truly touching story. Truly Bendis, like, at his finest writing wise, and Mac just at his best art. So highly recommend the read.
Yeah, good stuff. What a deal. Both of them.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, on to news.
Mm-hmm.
So got quite a bit of news this week, actually. So we'll start with the man, the myth, not the myth, the man, the icon, the reason why we're all sitting here today, Spider-Man.
Gotta troll me. You gotta troll me on this.
Am I lying though? Let me know. Am I lying? Would we be sitting here? We wouldn't be sitting here without FF.
No, you're not lying. You're not lying. You're not lying.
We wouldn't be sitting here without FF1, certainly.
Yeah, that's right.
But then when that died after Kirby and Stan Lee left the title, or rather after Kirby left the title.
It didn't die. It just didn't flourish. Still going.
Then Spider-Man breathed life back into it.
Yes, it did.
He
did.
We have, I can't tell if it's a rumor. It hasn't been acknowledged by any big news outlets, I don't think. But it seemed like everybody's talking about it, and some news outlets are reporting on it. But we haven't got anything official from Marvel, which usually that comes through like Variety, or other big outlets like that. But a lot of people are reporting that Destin Daniel Cretton is directing Spider-Man 4. If you don't know who that is the guy who directed Shang-Chi. And Shang-Chi had a list of problems for sure. Yeah. But what it was not, problems it did not have was its cinematography and direction. I think it suffered from some writing problems.
Yeah, but it was beautiful.
But truly, like, some of the most beautiful shots in the whole Marvel catalog. And definitely some of the best hand-to-hand fight scenes.
Yeah. It's Shang-Chi.
Yeah. The scene of them fighting in the skyscraper that's under construction with the neon light. Beautiful. The one of his... I I'm blanking on his dad's name, but when his dad's fighting his mom in that beautiful choreography, like in the woods, like gorgeous. So I think we're going to be in for a treat. I think Spider-Man fans, story-wise, who knows? But I think visually, we're going to be treated well here.
Yeah. It's a good development.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
So, and it seems like everything's finally moving forward. The only thing is, let's see, where do I have it listed? I don't want to get ahead of myself. No, okay. So, oh yeah, I do have it here. So the original rumor was that it was going to be a street level movie, which everybody was like, perfect.
Yeah, right.
That's what Spider-Man is. That's how we want to see him. Like, it was cool seeing him in space, cool seeing him like on the Wakanda battlefield with everybody, and just in a sci-fi setting. Cool. That's not who he is.
No.
He is a local hero. Not much different than Daredevil. Not much different than Luke Cage. Mm-hmm. Just probably with the most supernatural powers and physical ability. But definitely street level hero. So that was an original rumor. And everybody was happy about it. It was received well. But then another development came out that it was becoming a multiversal level story that Marvel. So if you don't know, you probably do know, but in case you don't, Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man and all subsequent characters and locations and all that kind of stuff. So all the Spider-Man Tom Holland movies that we've gotten, or Tom Holland appearances, have been a collaboration between Sony and Marvel or Disney. And when we got the multiversal push, the rumors were that this was Sony pushing for a multiverse story, and Disney Marvel saying, no, we want street level story. At the end of the day, I think Sony still has final say, but I think they're going to do their best to act in the best interests of like Marvel, because they know that if they're collaborating with Marvel, like there's a certain amount of money that they're going to be receiving from that. Yeah. So, it's collaborative work. So, they should be collaborating. But they're pushing for a multiverse story because they want, and this is where it's going to get really confusing, I think, for the average viewer, is they want Tom Spider-Man to now begin to overlap with the Sony villain verse that they've been building in those movies that they've been making. But to us, he's not part of that universe. Right. But it's Sony kind of being like, hey, don't forget, like, we own this character.
Are they going to always own this character? I mean, are they... They've let other things go, haven't they? Or am I... Yeah, of course, the X-Men.
Yeah. That was Fox.
Fox? What about...
So with Spider-Man, it's tough because I don't think that there's a price that you could put on Spider-Man.
How did Marvel lose that? Like, they sell to them when they were down on their luck,
when they were going
or
bankrupt
something?
in the 90s.
In the 90s, back when I was telling my dad, you got to buy stock in Marvel because they have these properties, but meanwhile they're selling their properties.
So, well, yeah, they were selling toys rights, they were selling movie rights, TV show rights to different studios to make money, and these studios were buying pennies on the dollar for these rights. So some went to Fox, like the X-Men and Daredevil. Some went to Sony, like Spider-Man, and so Marvel only kept the bottom of the barrel, like they had gunk that nobody wanted,
like stuff that would revert back. That's the reason why they had to make that really janky Fantastic Four movie in the 90s, so that because if they didn't, the rights would go back to Marvel. I think that's what it was.
So in all the contracts, if they don't make a movie within, usually it's like 3 or 5 years, somewhere in there, then the rights go back to Marvel. But so Marvel sold everything, and then they kept what nobody wanted, which was Iron Man, Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's why the first Marvel movie is Iron Man. Hulk is and isn't Hulk. Universal still owns Hulk to this day. That's still not a Marvel property. That's why we haven't gotten a solo Hulk movie yet, is because there's some more negotiating problems that are going on. But yeah, so anyways, Sony, Marvel probably wants to pay a price for Spider-Man, and Sony is probably asking an egregious price. That's my guess. Okay. Because you're not gonna, even if you put out the worst movie possible, it's going to make money.
Yeah, it's too valuable a property. So they're gonna continue to make movies, but Sony Spider-Man movies, but they are gonna try to cozy up to Marvel, DC, and coordinate their project with the MCU so that they can maximize the investment they make in the movie they're doing, rather than have it just be this ancillary Spider-Man story out here. They want it.
Yeah.
They want to pick. That's really, you got to be a pretty good lawyer to figure all that out. Like how, I wouldn't want to be a contract lawyer with that whole thing.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like who's paying who, but yeah.
So now, this has gone from a street level movie to a multiverse story, and it sounds like right now they're landing at a little bit of both. It's going to be street level with multiversal elements, and this came out after I wrote this outline for today's episode. This hurts.
Just tear the Band-Aid off. What is it?
It came out that the original story that Marvel was pushing for was a Daredevil Spider-Man team-up movie where they would take on Kingpin. And Sony says, no, we need Morbin time in there. Morbius.
No.
So I don't know if Morbius is actually going to be in there, but that's essentially why they're saying no, is because they want to start throwing some of their villains into these movies.
Wow, really? That does hurt.
So and it's going to have no emotional impact because honestly, it's the same reason why. I'll say this after. It's going to have no impact because these movies suck. Nobody likes them. So nobody has emotional attachments to like Morbius, probably the upcoming Craven movie, Madam Web. Like those movies are bad. So if you're going to put those people against Spider-Man, like as like his Sinister Six, that's like the worst Sinister Six I could think of. And it's also kind of the problem that I had with No Way Home was emotionally, like we're tied to the OG Doc Ock, and we're tied to I'm totally blanking.
Sandman,
Molina, Fred Molina, and then Oscar Molina, I don't know, something Molina for Doc Ock, and then Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, Sandman, Jamie Foxx as Electro, the Lizard, like only the viewer is emotionally attached, but Tom isn't. So to like have this like faux Sinister Six that they kind of did in No Way Home, like it was cool for the viewer, but I also remember thinking like this kind of like doesn't mean much to him. Like, and they only had like very little overlap with like what's like there was a moment where Toby interacted with Doc Ock, but Toby never interacted with Green Goblin, and that would have been really interesting to see.
That would have been. Yeah.
Andrew did interact with Jamie Foxx, but I just felt like there should have been more there because those are their villains.
Right.
So that was like my only kind of beef with that movie was those villains, just the emotional impact for those villains and those fights didn't mean much. So, I mean, it's going to be 20 times as much with Morbius and Craven and Madam Web. And Rhino, because Rhino's going to be in the Craven movie. Like, it's just, if that's what they're trying to do, it's going to be bad.
That's too bad, too, because if they had gone the Kingpin route, Kingpin has already been developed, ironically by Netflix initially, and now Disney's taking it and keeping D'Onofrio as a Kingpin. That character is so fully realized with that actor in it that we would already have an investment in that story, whereas now you have to convince us to go in with whatever villain you give us. Like how it's going to really depend on how good was the Kraven movie, you know?
Yeah.
Like maybe we'll be wrong. Maybe the Kraven movie will be amazing, and we'll be like, yeah, I'm ready to see more. But I'm not really banking on that because what do we have to? What's the track record there?
Right.
Like Madam Web, that's not good. That's not really. You said it. Like these movies, I'll say it, and they aren't great. You know, they haven't been great.
No. So they haven't been good. But so
that's too bad.
Yeah. On the same Spider-Man theme, we've got kind of weird news with the Beyond the Spider-Verse movie. So last year we got Across the Spider-Verse, my favorite movie of the year last year, and one of my favorite, a top 5 movie for me. So I'm excited for Beyond the Spider-Verse. So originally, Across the Spider-Verse came out in June 2023, and originally Beyond the Spider-Verse was supposed to come out March 29th, 2024. We're currently in
where is it?
September, so we haven't had that movie. Basically, some of the animators came out and they were like, the working conditions are horrible and the pay is just as bad. They were being essentially around the clock to do the animation. So there was a lot of complaints there. And so it was an unfortunate but a necessary delay to fix work environments and pay and stuff like that, which is a good thing because it's like, I would rather have a movie that is not animated by overworked and underpaid animators, because it's just going to be way less quality. So yeah, definitely glad that they sorted that out.
Yeah, for sure.
And then after that, we got the writer's strike, so that caused some delays. And then still got no update. But then this last week, it was rumored that the whole movie had been scrapped and delayed until past 2027.
What? That's too long. No one's going to remember spot who. We're not going to remember the setup.
Yeah. So, but thankfully, multiple cast members, including Christopher Miller, who's the producer and writer. I think also Daniel Pemberton, who did the score for the other two, and I think a couple other maybe it was a writer or a producer, but some cast members came out and said that it's weird. They didn't say it's not true. Their wording was a little interesting. So Christopher Miller says nothing's been scrapped and that the reels are coming together nicely. So the original rumor that came out was scrapped and a rewrite is happening. So nobody addressed the rewrite situation. Nothing's being scrapped, but it sounds like there might be some rewrites. So could be another delay with rewrites. I don't know.
Okay.
But the reels are coming together nicely means that they are animating and things are being animated at the moment. So
by happy, well-paid animators,
hopefully,
right?
Yeah. So I guess it's just a matter of kind of when they decide to tell us when the movie's going to be ready.
When the story comes out years later about what all was going down, we'll find out that during the writer's strike, they went out and hired a scab to write the movie. and now they got the real writers back and they're like, this is trash. We need to rewrite it,
I mean, could have been.
Yeah, right. It could be.
That doesn't sound way too off the mark.
No.
So, but yeah, another victim of a whole scrapped rewrite situation.
But they're saying, look, it's not going to be 2027, right?
They didn't say that, but it seems like they're kind of giving soft encouragement, we're not going through this whole nuking process.
Okay, good. So, I mean, because it's not like it's a brand new movie starting from scratch. It's been set up by the first two. The last scene of the second one sets up, at least it seems to set up what the central conflict is going to be for the third. So it's not like they have to come up with a whole brand new plot.
Yeah, well, that was the thing too, was they originally Across the Spider-Verse and Beyond the Spider-Verse was set out as one long movie. But then they decided to cut it in half and make it a 2-parter.
A good call.
So that's why the release dates were so close, was because it similar to Infinity War and Endgame, they filmed both those movies back to back.
Like the Lord of the Rings, they filmed all 3.
Right. Yeah. So similarly, they were just going to record and animate both movies just in one long sequence.
Okay.
But something interrupted that workflow. Sounds like it was the work environment.
Whenever it is, it'll be worth the wait. I'm sure it's going to be good. The first two were so good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. We will be there.
We will be there. Yep.
Moving away from Marvel for a second, onto DC. Josh Brolin was offered and rejected the role of Hal Jordan.
I think that's a good decision on his part. He doesn't strike me as I'm not like major into all the DC lore and a big full disclosure, big reader of Green Lantern, but he doesn't seem like a Hal Jordan to me.
Yeah, so it seems like they're taking Hal Jordan in a different direction.
Okay.
They noted that. Well, let me finish. So he was offered and rejected the role, and now Chris Pine and Timothy Olyphant are on the short list to be Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart will be introduced in a show called Lanterns, which will be an 8-episode series on HBO Max. And I think this is why they were going for Josh Brolin. It will feature an older, no-nonsense Hal mentoring a younger, wild card, a little bit reckless Jon Stewart.
I like that a lot. That's cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun because Jon Stewart's a cool character that has not, to my understanding, has not really been utilized that well in the DC.
I don't think he's ever been in.
I mean, that would be cool. But Brolin said no.
Yeah, so Brolin said no. So we got Chris Pine and Timothy Olyphant. I think either of them could be good.
Yeah.
I think people are kind of calling for Chris Pine a little bit more. But honestly, I think Timothy Olyphant kind of might be the...
They want Captain Kirk.
I think Timothy Olyphant, he's not... I mean... He's not as famous as Josh Brolin and Chris Pine, which I think is like a good thing. I think it'd be cool to get just... Wow, that died quick. Yeah, I think it would just... From the few things that I've seen Timothy Olyphant in, I think he's got really good acting chops. So
who do you think, or really not who, but if they do go that direction with the storyline, what then, if you had to choose, what spec book would be more valuable? Would it be first Hal Jordan as Green Lantern or first Jon Stewart as Green Lantern?
I mean, Hal Jordan, you can't even I don't think any movie's going to affect that book.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's true. You can't really touch that. That's true. That's in the stratosphere.
Yeah, that book is up there. So yeah, I think Jon Stewart will get a bump for sure. Yeah, so the story, according to a production grid, via Daniel RPK, who's a reputable leaker on Twitter. So according to a production grid that he saw, the story will follow Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart investigating a twisted and bizarre murder mystery on Earth, where they will uncover a conspiracy that will impact the entire DCU. So sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued to hear.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like the sort of the Old Man Logan, Batman Dark Knight Returns, like what this guy aged. Just I always like that idea.
Yeah.
It just gives an old character a new take, and then allows a character that isn't new. I mean, Jon Stewart debuted in the 70s, but I mean, underutilized, not really explored yet. A lot of room to run with that character. Gives him a runway.
Yeah.
So that should be fun.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I think it sounds cool. I think a murder mystery
that's cool
series with the two would be a lot of fun. Be cool to see what they do with just the powers of the Green Lantern.
Well, that's the thing, the Green Lantern powers they really have that golden age feel to them. Like this ring,
they do.
Can be anything and then become, that's such a golden age kind of thing. And I think they got to either tamper that down or do somehow limit that in a way so that they can, it doesn't interfere with the ability to tell a good story, where it's just, because it can get kind of wonky, right? Like, oh, here's my ring and I'm making into a big hammer that's hitting you. Like that's not,
yeah.
But a movie that has like a crime to solve, like it's a caper type thing, like caper, like that sort of feel to it, crime thing would be a cool way to explore those characters, especially Jon Stewart. That would be fun. I'm excited too.
I agree. Yeah. It'll be fun to see what they do with it.
Yeah.
No set release date, but probably within the next couple of years.
Okay. It's time for DC to step up.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be quick because DC's got a... I don't think James Gunn is in a rush, which is good, but I do think you also can't, like... As soon as that Superman movie drops, if it's good, then they're going to be on, like...
Right.
On a... People are going to say, okay, we need more.
And if we're to believe Deadpool, who admitted, welcome to the MCU, you're arriving at a low point. You know, maybe my favorite line from the movie. It was so good. It was just, one of those meta moments, right? But if that's true, and we all agree that it is, like DC doesn't want to squander the opportunity to grab some of that market share, but they can't grab it if they don't put a movie out.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean rush and put a bad movie out, but they got to get, like, we both agree that Deadpool perhaps signals that the pendulum's swinging the other way with MCU. Like they took a year, they pulled back, they said they canceled and scrubbed a lot of things, and they just put the one movie out. And we're kind of all hoping that this is a step now back toward their supremacy and all that stuff of telling really good stories and great movies. If DC just lets them dip and then come back up without like trying to interject, that's a missed opportunity for them. So they still have time, but they can't wait. Gunn can't wait forever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not waiting, but I mean, I'd like to see, when is Superman coming out?
Like 2 weeks before Fantastic Four.
Okay, so next
Like
summer.
Yeah, July.
That's going to be a crazy couple of weeks. There's like 3 movies coming out, right? Back to back.
The new Jurassic Park is first, and then Superman, and then Fantastic Four.
I'm sorry, Jurassic Park. They're so far from their glory years. That I know that you were telling me that the talk is that it's really going to be great, and I'm up for it. I mean, I hope it is. I mean, Debbie and I saw that when we were dating. That's how long ago the first one came out. But they're not just going to get me on the title alone. Like that ship sailed a few movies ago.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's a Jurassic Park movie. I don't need to know anything about it. I'm plunking my money down. Nah. I need to see Rotten Tomatoes in the 90s. I need people that I trust, like you or somebody else, tell me.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you and I are probably going to see it together.
Yeah.
That's the deal. So, but the other one, Superman, I will see it. Doesn't matter.
For sure.
I'm already in line for that.
It'll be an expensive month of movies.
Not as expensive as as October's going to be.
Yeah. We'll get there.
For us.
Yeah. So
the reason for my diet.
I think it's kind of funny because DC is putting out better movies than Marvel. They put out Joker. They put out the Batman. We have the Penguin series that comes out in the next couple weeks, which is from early screenings is just being praised and is like Colin Farrell at his absolute best. And then we have Joker Folie à Deux. So, like, these are all, with the exception of the Penguin and Folie à Deux, because those haven't been released yet, the Joker and the Batman have been 2 of the most highly praised superhero movies.
Yeah.
Of the past decade.
That's why first on my list is to go get the first Joker.
But, like, those movies aren't connected to a universe. So when it comes to us as collectors, people don't really care. And when it comes to like the whole like general audience, Marvel has kind of like, call it brainwashed or trained or whatever, like us into really truly believing into a full universe that connects. Yeah. And so I think that's why there's not a big of an impact on the comic book market with the Joker and the Batman, is because you're not connecting it to an entire universe, so there's nothing to like speculate on or to guess. And also naturally, like the Batman and Joker keys like are golden age mostly, and so they're going to be crazy expensive.
That's such a big part of it. I really do believe that. Like I said, I'm obviously joking when I say I'm going to get the first Joker because it's Batman one. Like it's hard to spec.
Yeah.
It's hard. Someone asked the question on one of our recent videos in the YouTube comments, about whether or not Two-Face, it's called, CGC says it's the first Silver Age appearance of Two-Face. But the truth is, the book comes out in like 1971 or something like that. It's not really Silver Age, but you just don't. But that's, you have to settle for that if you want because you're not getting the first Two-Face.
Right.
Like, that's not happening. But to answer the guy's question, he said he always thought of Two-Face as a Bronze Age villain. Like, absolutely he is, or a Golden Age villain, but he's not a Silver Age villain. He never appeared in the Silver Age. They should just call it what they do with Captain Marvel: first appearance of Two-Face since the Golden Age.
Yeah,
kind of thing. But anyway, it's off topic a bit. But yeah, the specking on DC is not as fun as specking on Marvel because for the most part, you still can get pretty early appearances of these key characters. You can't do it in DC.
Yeah,
they're just out in they're on Mount Olympus.
Yeah, it is crazy. That's why, calling back to that old sleeper head scratcher I did. Mm-hmm. Those are early Spider-Man appearances.
I keep thinking about that one. That head scratcher that you did or sleeper that you did. Was it a sleeper?
Sleeper,
it was, that sleeper that you did. Like a truly good sleeper is actually a head scratcher. Like it's such a sleeper that I'm scratching my head. Like I can't. I need to get my hands on the fifth. The Tide
Strange Tales.
The Strange Tales.
Yeah.
I need to get. It's criminally underpriced.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So, all right, on to this final bit of news. Got a Venom trailer yesterday.
Yeah.
And we have officially been teased with Knull. This is exciting in some ways and frightening in other ways.
Yeah.
It is exciting because Knull is an incredible villain. And he predates the Marvel Universe. And he's just insanely powerful. And Sony is in the driver's seat.
And Sony. there's the
so like if this was like Marvel Studios with Knull, this would be like a Thanos level situation. This wouldn't just introducing him in a Venom movie makes sense because he made his first full appearance in a Venom book, and he's like the god of symbiotes essentially. Like, but there's so much story that's being skipped as far as to like when Knull was created in the comics that like leads up to that is just being looked over. Like the Dylan Brock, Eddie Brock's son.
Yeah.
There's just so much that's like missing. So look, not that stories can't be retold and origins can't be recreated, but Donnie Coates, I think I'm saying that his name right. His run on Venom, I haven't read it. I've watched like summarized videos of like people essentially doing like a page by page breakdown of it. His run is so iconic on Venom that one, we're getting Knull in this Venom movie, and the Spider-Man 2 the Spider-Man 2 game that came out back in last November, also took from Coates' run. So it's like, that's kind of unheard of that a run that came out 2018, I think, 2017, like not old.
No.
And it's already being adapted twice. Like, it just shows how good of a run it was.
Yeah. But you're not trusting Sony though.
Yeah, and it's like, man, you haven't set the groundwork for him. Like, that's the problem, is like the most groundwork we've got is symbiotes. Like, Thanos was teased, right? Like kind of like throughout, but the whole groundwork was being set for Thanos with Loki in Avengers with the Infinity Stone, and you get a tease of Thanos at the end, and then Guardians of the Galaxy, you get I don't remember which stone it was. Yeah. But then you get stones placed in like different movies, and so you have Thanos without having Thanos. And so all we kind of have right now is just symbiotes, and that can mean anything. Like,
so you don't think it doesn't sound like they're going to give Knull the proper introduction that his prowess really commands. If he's the big bad that he's supposed to be and should be, you're really not going to be able to establish that very well in the first 20 minutes when you're setting up the villain for a singular movie.
Right. Yeah. So it's funny. Like there's a scene of him like sitting down and his like hair is draping over him, and that's kind of like the only shot you get. It's not clear like who the actor is, or like you don't really get a good look at his face, but it's clear it's Knull, and people are like just kind of going crazy on like Twitter and the internet about, wow, we're getting Knull. This is insane. Like, how did they keep this under wraps for so long? Like, this hasn't been rumored or leaked. Like, this was this was revealed yesterday. And so I've seen a lot of responses to people like freaking out how this wasn't leaked or before. And I saw somebody say, bold of you to assume that this wasn't filmed yesterday.
There was nothing to leak. They just came up with it.
Which is a notorious thing for Sony, is all of their reshoots that they do. So I just thought that was funny. Just
man, that's
let's film the Knull scenes on a Wednesday, and then we'll drop the trailer on Thursday.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work out, we'll pull all the scenes and we'll shoot something else.
Exactly what they did with Morbius. There were so many. Gosh. Well, but there is one rumor that Norman Reedus, who played Daryl in The Walking Dead, is playing Knull, which I think would be really cool. He's a great actor. I haven't seen him in much, but yeah, he would be great. This kind of ties back into Spider-Man 4. Knull is a multiversal level villain, kind of like the god of the multiverse in some ways. So that's why there's strife between Marvel and Sony, is because Sony is setting this up. And Sony is seeing the short-sighted profits of like multiverse. Like, oh, they love Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, so we gotta start overlapping everything. But it's like, we didn't love it because it was a multiverse. We loved it because we love those actors and we love their characters. And it was cool to see them again after 15 years for Toby, whatever it was, and then 5 to 10 years for Andrew. Like,
but we did it. It was done. It was a nice little homage, but that's not the future.
Yeah. So, yeah, kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah. It's wild that their number one property, Marvel's number one property, they have to share it. I mean, they did it. They sold it. But they don't have free reign with that character.
Yeah.
So good or bad? Probably bad, right?
Yeah. So hopefully the movies just get worse and worse. It's like, it's best case and worst case, because it's like you don't want to see a bad movie,
right?
But it's just like you kind of, in some ways, just hope that it's just nothing but bad movies, so that Sony has no other choice but to sell.
You're talking. You could be talking about my favorite sports team. I want the general manager of my favorite baseball team to get canned, and so all summer long, I didn't really mind that the team wasn't winning. I'm like, well, it's got to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah,
I don't want them to barely make the playoffs. You know how it is.
Yeah.
You guys aren't here to talk sports, but you know what I mean.
Same idea.
Same thing.
Quick little cut there to get your camera back on.
Yes.
So, all right, now onto this main segment. With all this scraps, rewrites going on, I guess more so I decided as opposed to we decided. I decided it would be fun in a 14, 15 hour time frame to do a little pitch on what your ideal Fantastic Four movie is. So Bob will pitch his FF movie. Mind you, I only gave him about 12 hours to think of it. Maybe we'll revisit this in a month.
Yeah.
And I give him a little bit more time.
I got home from work last night at about 10 o'clock and I looked at it. I think you sent it to me about that time too.
Yeah.
And I went, whoa, okay. So the way I
sorry. He's going to do FF and then I'm going to do my pitch for Spider-Man 4. Okay. So Bob will go first with FF.
So my pitch for the Fantastic Four movie, the way I decided to do it was just if I could go to the movie and sit down and it be everything I want it to be, this is what it would be. The movie would start with the Fantastic Four already with their powers. So we're not going to get the origin story. So they already have their powers. Reed and Sue are already married, and they're established. It's set in the 60s. So some of the things we already know, set in the 60s, and they're the astronaut celebrities. And so I think that's not too far afield from what we already know is going to happen. But the movie itself won't really take place on Earth. What's going to happen is the setup is there's some kind of energy reading that they're picking up somewhere out in space. The satellites, 60 satellites are picking up something unique, and they just need to go out to the nearest, whatever they've got out there that's measuring that, their nearest outpost out in space. It's not a long trip because Sue's pregnant, so you can't go long. It's just a short thing just to kind of, look at it. They think it must just be with the sensors because what they're picking up, it's just too big. Like there's no way, so they go out and I haven't been able to think of exactly how this would work out, but one thing kind of leads to another where what they learn from the sensor leads them to the next thing. And the whole time as they go a little further away from Earth, the thought is, we got to be careful because we got to get back home because Sue's pregnant, she's 4 or 5 months along, so she's not like, ready to give birth, but it's, you don't want to get too
uncomfortable.
Far. Yeah. So they, but what ends up happening is they get a little too close to what they think they found the energy source. They get a little too close to it really. And what the energy source really is in this case, something that transports them way, way out in the universe. Like it's like a wormhole type thing. So they're out there in uncharted universe now. They're just way out there. And what I'll tell you, we'll find out what this thing is in a minute, but they go out in a far universe and they don't even know where they are anymore. Like they're off the map. And, but what they're reading on their things is something massive, like energy wise, just huge, massive energy. And so they follow the energy out and what they find is Galactus. And what they find him doing is he's in the process of devouring a planet. That's the energy that they're picking up is that he's, the Silver Surfer is there kind of like watch and we get to see him eating a planet essentially. It's taking all the energy away. And what that device was that transported them out there into space, and what caused the energy spike and the curiosity from the Earth dwellers was it's basically a lure that Galactus throws out to look for life on other planets, which would indicate the potential. You'd have to have energy on this planet to have life, and those are the types of planets he is. So he's got his herald out there searching, but he's also got his little beacons out there, and this particular like a gigantic fishing net that's just going through the universe, and it caught the Fantastic Four. So now they're there, and they see this, and so Galactus takes note of them and is intrigued by them, but isn't really trying to eat their planet. He's satiated because he's eating this planet right now, or devouring, sucking up the energy of this planet. What we don't know, or what the Fantastic Four don't know, is that another ship has followed them. They don't know. We as the audience know this. Another ship has followed them through this wormhole and is tracking them. That's all we know. And Galactus, the Herald is like, Silver Surfer is and I mean, go on forever, but I'll keep it short. But the Silver Surfer is basically warning them from a distance, don't come any closer, because this is a trap for you, and Silver Surfer is kind of indifferent, but like he always does, he becomes, he's affected by Reed's intelligence and Sue's, being compassionate. So he doesn't want to see them, be eaten alive, their planet consumed, whatever. And this is where I'm not sure exactly how to do it, but the other ship arrives, and we don't know what's going on with the other ship, but the other ship is tracking now the Silver Surfer and like trying to capture whatever's going on. There is attacking the Silver Surfer, trying to capture the Silver Surfer, and the Fantastic Four have befriended the Silver Surfer, so they're stopping this other ship. What we find out later is that Doom is in the other ship, and Doom is the he knows there's some energy out there, and he doesn't know what it is, but he wants it for himself, because if he can have it, then he can be the most powerful, and he can show the world that he's smarter than Reed and all that stuff. And in the process of all this fighting, Galactus suddenly is like, "What's going on over there?" And he comes over, and basically. I'm not sure how yet. This is where I'm not sure. I haven't figured it all out yet. But somehow or another, there's got to be some kind of cosmic chase. I want them out in space, going all over the place. Perhaps it's the FF trying to find their way home. I'm not sure what it is, but at any event, something. It's like every writer. I'm not sure what Act 2 is yet, but anyway, the conflict is Doom trying to enslave the Surfer to steal his power, and the Fantastic Four trying to help the Surfer because they recognize the Surfer is at least an ally that they need if they're going to survive Galactus. And Galactus finally end up in the same place, and they're like, "Oh, we're dead." Like, Galactus is the devourer of worlds, right?
Yeah.
But he has a peculiar response to them. He recognizes the latent power of their unborn son in Franklin, who's not born yet, but he's not interested in whatever their planet's got, because what he's seeing in Sue is something way, way more powerful. There's something there, and he recognizes it, and he tells them, look, he tells the Fantastic Four, kind of makes a deal with them, like, I'll leave your planet alone but you got to keep that power in check right there. What you have has the potential of unbalancing the universe, but he can't destroy it because it's already sentient and aware. This like, he tries to, but he can't. Like, whatever is inside of Sue is alive and aware, and Galactus is afraid of it, and so they kind of strike this deal, but they say, okay, but what about Doom? And I'm not sure what would happen, but there's got to be some kind of a conflict between Doom and Galactus, which I think would be amazing. I've always wanted to see those two like really fight it out. So I don't know what that would be exactly, but Galactus would be the victor there, because Doom is always getting thwarted, And so, but it would be more of a to be continued sort of thing, because Doom was going to take advantage of now Franklin, and now his eyes turn because he's overheard this conversation, whatever, right? So that sets up later movies. And I haven't. That's all I have right now.
Yeah.
But it's basically that Galactus recognizes that Franklin Richards is something that is a threat to him, but so much a threat that he has to make peace with it because he can't fight it.
Yeah.
And he realizes. So it changes what the story canon has been in the Fantastic Four, but in a more interesting way, because now it introduces Franklin Richards as something you can really explore in the next movie,
Yeah.
and it allows Doom to show up, because we know Doom's going to be in it somewhere,
Right.
And that's all I've got right now. It's
That's
not a
really
lot,
good.
but it's good for 15 hours.
No, I like it. I like the feel of Doom. That feels very 60s Doom.
Yeah.
Obviously, as all the characters grow, he becomes a lot more mature and calculated. But yeah, definitely in those 60s FF books, he's just kind of just a menace, I think is the best way to describe it. He's just a menace. He uses Submariner.
Yeah.
He manipulates Submariner and just uses him as a stepping stool to get to the FF.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of, it's there really wouldn't be anything that especially out in space, that the FF would pursue that Doom wouldn't be
aware of,
right behind.
Yeah.
Right behind on. So that makes sense. I like the Franklin Richards setup.
And I just want to see I want to see it on the screen. I want to see Galactus devour a world.
Yeah.
I just think that could be done in such a cool way. The emotional impact of Star Wars when they destroy Alderaan.
Yeah.
and there's that moment where the Obi-Wan is like, there's been a great disturbance in the Force. It's impactful because like you realize, yeah, it's a planet, but it's a world full of people that just is all these voices cry out and they're suddenly silenced is what the character says. And I think they could do something emotional like that with Galactus because you have to make Galactus. He's so big that he's hard to make him relatable as a villain, but I think you could do that if you actually watched him. He's not even evil, right? He's just hungry.
Yeah.
But his hunger decimates an entire planet full of living things. I think it would be cool. And plus, I'd love to see it, how they would visibly show it, because otherwise it's hard to make the threat real. Other than we have to take the Silver Surfer's word for it. And I understand that I underutilize the Silver Surfer in this movie. I haven't figured out how to make him more interesting. Maybe I have to save Galactus till the third act and have more Surfer. But yeah, I think that would be cool to watch that though.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we will, like in November, we'll come back around. You can like fully flesh it out. I'll have like a month to like flesh it out.
Yeah.
And then I'll do the same because I have about the same as you, except I typed it out and I'll read it. It's about one act.
Yeah.
So then I'll do the same. I have like ideas of like it could go here, it could go there. But on the spot, post-credit scene, what would you do?
Post-credit scene would be the birth of Franklin Richards. That would be the coolest post-credit scene. Just it would be like this serene, oh, Mr. Richards, you're because like how they do in the 60s, the guy's not in the room, oh, your son, you have a son, and it would be like an eerie scene because Reed would be like deeply concerned, but at the same time happy that he's a father, but he has had this ominous warning from Galactus. Yeah. And so he understands this isn't just my son. Like every father, when their son is born, feels like, or their child is born, feels this weight of responsibility. But he understands from the ominous kind of prophecy of Galactus that this is something way, way bigger than there's a whole universal balance here. And he's like, oh, that's great. And he's happy and he's holding his son. And I don't know what it would be but he and Sue would be looking at their son, and either nothing, it's just a child, just an infant, or there would be some kind of a hint of power that they would both see, and they would both kind of look at each other and look at the baby, and that would be the and then maybe that would cut, and then you would have the scene, then you would cut to somewhere out in the deep universe. You would just see this big face just kind of like turn, like it's regarded something, like it understands that okay, this thing is now entered physically into the universe as a tangible thing. I would be down for the sequel if that was a thing, because I love the Franklin Richards storyline has so much room to grow.
I think what you could do is, like you were saying, push the Galactus fight back, but have it so that the FF are struggling against Galactus somehow, and then all of a sudden he like takes a step back and he like stops, but nobody in the FF like understands why, but they all like notice it. And then Galactus goes into his speech about Franklin, and then when the FF get back, they run a bunch of tests on Sue, but not like, and it's like normal. Like,
they don't know she's pregnant at all. Maybe even like it could be that.
Yeah, or like if she's like pregnant, as you say, like a few months in, when they get back home after everything, they're just kind of like weirded out and like really confused by like they were just fighting this insane villain. They defeated him, but it wasn't them.
Yeah.
And then he gave them like this like weird prophecy. And so then they go back, they do tests on the baby and Sue Storm, but all the readings and everything is completely normal. Like it's a completely normal baby.
Okay.
So that in the post-credit scene, like you kind of have like a nervousness of like Reed like in the waiting room, just like waiting, and then like when you just like keep that ominousness over Reed.
That would be so cool. There'd be a point in the fight where it's over, like Galactus, like the threat becomes like it's a life-threatening moment for Franklin. Like Franklin as an unborn child realizes he's now acting in self-defense, whatever that is. And it's all unbeknownst to anybody but Galactus. Like there's a point where Galactus presses his advantage just enough for this unborn sentient child inside of Sue to just a little of, hey.
Yeah.
And Galactus is like, what the heck was that?
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe Doom doesn't have to be in it at all. Like I just, because I don't know, I feel like I'm trying to shoehorn that in somewhat. It could just be Galactus, the Silver Surfer, and Franklin, and you know, and I would stay away from a lot of the like the chummy, jokey, stupid stuff that they always try to do with Ben Grimm. And I would play, as far as the tone of it, it would be like a darker sci-fi, you know, the danger of space feel to it, like you do with when you see the documentaries on space travel, or even like, I don't know, Interstellar or anything else, where when you go out into space, it can kill you, and they're aware of it. They're always so flippant with space with these Marvel movies. You know, I think that space should be not a character, but space should be a constant threat. The threat of the vacuum of space should always be there.
Yeah.
You know,
you could have it so that like Doom, maybe it's just like revealed that like Doom was tracking them the whole time and lurking, but like stayed away and never like interfered, and just watched them fight Galactus, and was like taking note. And then like as that situation like fades, Doom then goes to the planet that was eviscerated and explores the planet to like figure out like what the heck just happened. But the whole time is like staying out of sight of the FF.
Which would fit with what we understand about RDJ. They're not gonna roll him out in FF1. That he's they'll do that in Avengers, Doomsday or whatever, right? But we kind of getting hints that they want to cameo him in some way in FF1.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of where this whole thing started, was just my desire to see Franklin Richards explored, and my understanding that Doom probably has to make some type of a cameo appearance. And so starting with that, and the fact that I know Galactus is a part of this movie, and the fact that I don't want to see them on Earth.
Yeah.
I've had enough of that. That would be me.
Who would you fan cast?
Oh, wow. I haven't thought of it all. Like
we'll save that for the next one.
Yeah, next one. I'll definitely put some thought into that.
All right.
So
I like it.
All right.
I would watch it. If I saw that trailer, if I saw bits and pieces of the story and trailer, I would be hooked.
Let's do it, man. Let's make a fan trailer and drop it on YouTube.
Yeah, you got the budget to make a fan trailer.
No. Don't you have some program or something?
Yeah. That's just how it works. Now you're really aging yourself. Don't you just have? Can't you just throw it in that little
tell your computer to do it?
I mean, soon enough with AI.
True.
All right.
Let's hear yours, man. Spidey. Whoa, dude, you went off.
Yeah.
How many pages is that?
4.
So you really were writing all night when you said you spent a lot of time last night writing.
Yeah. So I don't have a name for this, but this is actually going to be Spider-Man 4. So this is my pitch for Spider-Man 4. So no fan casting. My movie exists in the currently existed Marvel Universe characters. I guess there is one character or a couple characters that I could cast, but maybe I'll do that later. I don't have a title like, we got Spider-Man No Way Home. I haven't come up with yet. So when we revisit this, I will. All right. Opening scene. Summertime is New York. Oh, sorry. Totally read that wrong. Summertime in New York is the setting. Intro is a 3-minute sequence of Spidey swinging through New York. This needs to be the greatest swinging sequence we have ever seen in a Spider-Man film. This is important for a couple of reasons. One, it's going to cement him in New York City. The views, the hustle and bustle of New York, all of it is going to make Peter and the audience feel like they're at home. We've been in space, we've been interacting with the multiverse, etc. But a swing sequence will feel like a complete reset for people both in the movie and out of the movie. After the swinging, Peter lands on a skyscraper overlooking Manhattan. He removes his mask, and a look of joy quickly fades into a sigh as he droops his head. He puts his mask back on and swings away. We find him lurking on MJ, Ned, and other friends enjoying a day out in New York City before being interrupted by a radio call for a situation happening across town. Mind you, I'm also going to be dealing with the ramifications of No Way Home.
Okay.
Before being interrupted by a radio call for a situation happening across town. Without hesitation, he zips out of there as he knows this new habit of his is unhealthy. He arrives slightly off scene, hidden from the public, and is greeted by an inconspicuous cop. Badge name, Davis. Officer Davis shares that the new jewelry store was wiped clean. No jewelry, no evidence, no casualties. It was as if the owner of the shop or owner of the location was ready to show this to a new tenant. Peter doesn't understand. It's the nth one this month, and the crime scene is the same every single time. Officer Davis distracts the cops in front of the shop, and Peter sneaks in through the back to take a look around. A whole lot of nothing. Peter gives Officer Davis a nod and dashes out. Davis cools on the dramatics of distracting his fellow cops. Peter crawls through his window, dragging his body into his bed. It's clearly nighttime by this point, and we can tell he's been at this for hours. He pulls up photos of Spidey on his phone and remarks that he should be able to get himself through the rest of the month with these photos. His phone rings. He's jump scared and in annoyance mutters under his breath, "Why does my Spidey sense work for everything but my phone?" Yes, I am killing the Peter Tingle. That the Peter Tingle is dying with Aunt May. We are bringing back the Spidey sense. Anyways, nice. He answers the phone, and the camera cuts to Daredevil perched on a rooftop, telling him to meet at so-and-so location. We cut back to Peter, who rolls his eyes, throws his mask back on, and enthusiastically jumps out his window. The change in bodily tone from dragging his body into a place of rest to an energetic dive out the window is meant to show the excitement for his team up with Daredevil. After losing Tony, Aunt May, his friends, and other Peters... After losing Tony, Aunt May, his friends, the other Peters, and his collegiate experience, his newly found team up with Daredevil is the highlight of his life now. Spidey shows up at the rooftop, his mask only covering his eyes as he scarfs down a slice of pizza. It's clear by the mess on his face that it isn't his first slice, and in his other arm is swinging, to which we see him holding a gallon of water. I don't know why, but I feel like we rarely see superheroes rejuvenating. As I wrote this, I kind of made myself laugh at the thought of Peter gluttonously eating pizza and lugging around a gallon of water.
Like your jug of water.
He jovially approaches Daredevil, throws his hand over his shoulder, and says, "What are we looking at?" Daredevil turns his head towards Spidey, but Spidey's head is fixed forward. Daredevil slightly shakes his head, and after a deep breath, sums up that the Speakeasy art show is happening soon. I wrote that scene, "What are we looking at?" and I started dying of laughter because Daredevil's blind.
Oh, right, of course. That's great. Went right over my head. Oh my gosh, that's good.
I typed it out and I just started hysterically laughing at myself.
That's a good sign.
Anyways, I like that joke so much that I went and I told Dara.
You got to trademark it quick before Marvel, snags it.
Daredevil has a bit of trauma when it comes to art. He first met Kingpin at the art gallery that Vanessa worked at, and most recently, Karen died at the hands of Muse in Daredevil Born Again. He can't forgive himself for failing to keep his promise from way back in Daredevil Season 1, that by his side, Karen will always be safe. Kingpin and Vanessa also linger in that trauma since the gallery was the moment that the Daredevil persona became real to him. The recent string of missing art, jewelry, and collectibles was more than enough for Matt to jump at helping Peter with. The Speakeasy show clears, an awesome sequence of the duo scaling rooftops to get over to the roof ensues. They arrive on scene and the duo look around, not able to find much. Peter asks Matt who he knew who he was, even after everything had happened, following the events of No Way Home and the spell that nobody will remember him.
Right.
Matt briefly breaks down his powers and senses and explains that while his memory was wiped, his supernatural senses were not. This foreshadows how MJ will eventually come around to remembering Peter. While her senses aren't supernatural, the last shots of her in No Way Home, looking at Peter as he walked away after buying a coffee, will eventually come full circle. Her senses, that of love, aren't supernatural, which is why it wasn't an instant thing like it was for Matt. So it's purely
cool.
Matt's.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a cool way to explain that.
So that's why Spidey will have like such a strong affection for Daredevil, because while nobody, or for Matt, both, whatever, is because the world has completely forgotten who Peter Parker is. Matt Murdock is the only person in the world who has not.
That's so cool.
So,
wow.
After finding nothing, Peter tells Matt about his encounter earlier with the jewelry store. Matt impatiently pries about any art that was there, the style of art, etc. I should also explain, if you don't know who Muse is, he's a serial killer that deals with art. So that's why he's like really intent on the art part of all this. Matt impatiently pries about any art that was there, the style of art, etc. Peter says it was all jewelry. Matt, frustrated, turns around. Peter, recognizing that grief, encourages him that it's going to be okay, that they're going to find him and they're going to catch him. Matt has a small outburst of anger and tells Peter that his naive optimism isn't helping anybody or protecting lives. Peter stands in silence. Matt's muscles loosen and he looks like he's just been diffused. He tells Peter he's sorry and knows that it's not his fault, but he just feels so lost. Peter takes his mask off and encourages him. This isn't a Daredevil Spidey story where Daredevil is his mentor or the no-nonsense older hero. Daredevil has respect for Peter because he knows everything that he's been through. Arguably, Peter might have gone through the most stuff, I mean, aside from Wanda, in the whole MCU. I don't think anybody's gone through more than... That dude has been through the ringer.
He has. Yeah, he lost a lot of people close to him.
Yeah. So Daredevil has respect for Peter because he knows everything that he's been through. He might be younger in age, but not in life lived. After a quick moment of reconciliation, Matt dives off the roof and Peter is about to follow before a shimmer catches his eye. He glances over and finds a tiny jewel. He picks it up, stows it away, and finally goes to bed. Time has passed. I don't know how much time. I don't know how scripts work. That stuff, but time has passed. So Spidey travels to Brooklyn where he meets up with Officer Davis. If you don't know by now, Officer Davis is Miles' dad, Jefferson Davis. He shows him the jewel, and Davis confirms that it matches the description of the inventory that they got from the jewelry owner where they last saw each other. Spidey explains where he found it in the context of it all. After their exchange, Davis stops him before he takes off and tells him thank you for all that you do. He mentions how being a cop is tough work in New York and that he wishes he could be everywhere all at once but can't, so he's thankful he can collaborate with Spidey. It eases some of his concerns since he has a son too. Peter gives a stronger nod to him. He expresses similar feelings and says, well, right now there's only one Spider-Man, but there's thousands of you guys. As Peter swings back, he decides to detour to Manhattan to see what's going on before he calls it a day. It's a beautiful summer evening in Manhattan. The sun is setting and reflecting off of the New York skyline. That half moment of content we got in the opening scene is growing larger. Arriving in Soho, Peter spots a guy running down the sidewalk, knocking people over. He webs the thief up, jumps down, and takes the stolen good from his hands. Peter notices a phone and the broken black dahlia necklace that we all know MJ wore. With speed like we've never seen before, he turns around and he sees MJ, sunset backdrop radiating behind her like an angelic presence. Nervously, he changes his tone of voice and with shaking hands, gives her back her belongings. Cops arrive on scene. He salutes and webs off. She looks confused, but also like she received a piece to a puzzle in which she doesn't know what it will be, she doesn't know how many pieces there are, and that she only has a few of them. Peter's on a rooftop freaking out. The sun is nearly fully set now. He's swearing off ever seeing MJ again and lurking around in her life. It's too much for him. He's got this case going on. Matt needs his help, and he needs to focus. His spider sense trips. He turns around, and there she is, Black Cat. Spidey's eyes go completely wide. Voice as smooth as honey, and other words that I don't need to even speak because I don't need to do that work for you. When I read this to Dara last night, she said, you write provocative scenes the same way that Brandon Sanderson does.
Yeah, that's good.
Peter is immediately enticed, curious but not totally defensive. He inquires, she explains. All the robberies, her. The diamond left behind, her. Now he's a different type of confused. He didn't have to extrapolate any information. He didn't have to physically fight for any information. He just got it all. He inquires again, still enticed. Black Cat knows it, and she uses it. The physical barrier has been breached. If movies had those colored bubble texts that indicate internal monologue, we would know that Peter has seen this as the perfect situation. Firstly, she's fessed up to all her crimes. Secondly, she's a perfect distraction from MJ. Part of him swearing off MJ isn't just words. He has to act on it, and he has to bury MJ in his mind by replacing her. It hurts, but who cares? Nobody knows who he is anyways. Black Cat talks about how she was hired by this political big shot to go around town, cause harmless crime that he can use for his upcoming mayoral campaign. She doesn't care, she gets paid, and she gets to keep what's stolen. It's a win-win. After a slew of innuendos and physical teases, she acrobatically escapes. After a moment passes, Peter's eyes get wide again, but it's different. He realized that he got a full confession and a motive, but no name. And honestly, all he can remember at this point is political big shot. He aggressively shakes his head, slight shrug, and dashes out. He catches up with Daredevil and explains what happened. Upset that Pete let her go without getting any information about her, he rages and knew Kingpin was behind it and that he was always behind it. That's all I've written so far.
Dude, you went all out, man.
Yeah, I really did.
Like you wrote it like a book, dude.
Yeah,
that's really good. Man, I was just kind of carried off. I wasn't ready for you to stop.
So I have thoughts. So this is like going to be in a different style, but I kind of wrote like thoughts that I would have for the rest of the movie. There will be more MJ moments for sure, but these moments will mostly serve as a means to build up stories between MJ and Ned, so that when they get their memory back, Ned will be confused and hurt as to why Peter never lurked around for him, or didn't save him and his Lola when their house caught fire. This will be something that Peter will shamefully acknowledge he knew nothing about, thus leading to a future Ned becomes Hobgoblin.
Ah, okay.
MJ will get her memory back first, and Peter will ask her to promise to not tell Ned he's better off without him, even though it hurts. I don't know if I like this as part of the ending or something for like 5 and 6, but yeah.
Okay.
Either way, just adding more fuel to like the Hobgoblin fire.
Yeah.
This will mostly be set up as a buddy cop movie. Pete buddy copping with both Officer Davis and Daredevil until those paths merge. Matt will have recognized Officer Davis since he works in the lawyer, and Daredevil will have also teamed up with Davis in the past.
That's cool.
So Matt will have recognized Davis from a couple old cases, and of course, at some point, Matt will be the one to ask, "How's Miles doing?" The only name drop of the movie.
Nice.
Big Kingpin versus Daredevil and Spidey fight. Kingpin physically loses, but the fight will be manipulated to launch Devil's Reign. Look what these so-called heroes did to me type thing. A public display of injuries and altered footage of the fight. The only winner here is Black Cat. She walked away insanely profitable and almost forgotten. Almost. Post-credit scene. Kingpin talking to a very small, selective group of people. In the comics, his team for Devil's Reign is the Thunderbolts, but because this is existing in the already existed MCU, that doesn't make sense with the current Thunderbolts roster. So we'll call them the Sinisters. The camera pans across and we see Michael Mando's Scorpion, who was teased in Spider-Man Homecoming. We'll see Bullseye. We'll see Emil Blonsky's Abomination. And the big reveal, Donald Glover in full Prowler gear.
Ooh.
So
wow, man, bravo. I love it, dude. That's really good.
So yeah, that's
you Sony and Marvel executives, it's at Spro's, he's willing to take an option on that story idea.
Guys.
Wow, that's really well done, man.
Yeah,
that's
thank you.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I would love to see them do your movie.
Yeah.
I would love it. That would be, it ties so many different storylines together.
Yeah.
It sets up more for the future.
Yeah.
And it keeps it street level, but it still has an epic feel. Like it's street level, but epic.
Yeah.
Just and I mean, bringing Black Cat in that way is tight. Like that's nice. That's a good, because that's like, I immediately think of the J. Scott Campbell cover where MJ's like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah.
Who are you doing? What are you doing with my man? You know. And you could almost homage it, in a fun way down the road. You could not in this movie because it's set up probably for the next one, but that love triangle, so to speak, that Peter suddenly finds himself in. Lots of emotion, obviously, because you have Peter, picking up where he left off at just about as devastated as a young man could be.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, isolation in the extreme, as in nobody knows me, and then I love the way you tie in Daredevil's unique superpowers to make him, at least as far as Peter's concerned, immune to that kind of amnesia, so that Peter's not alone, which then explains why they would be together. Because you're like, why are they together? What's the reason that they, it's nice because you want them to be together, but what's the reason, for them to be teaming up this way, rather than it just makes it's convenient for the movie. Like, you give her actually a really cool, organic, plausible reason for it, beyond plot, like a cool and realistic reason for it. Anyway, I love it, man. That's really good.
Thank you.
Man, I love it.
Yeah, it was actually originally just going to be a Mr. Negative story, but then I kind of canned it.
Yeah.
And it was going to be like jewelry stores, just like being eviscerated.
Yeah. And
him throwing them into like the negative zone, or not the negative zone, whatever his dimension is.
Yeah.
But then I was like, no, I should use that. I should use that to introduce Black Cat. I think, truthfully, Black Cat, this is the perfect time to introduce her into the movie. Like,
who would you have play Black Cat?
I don't know.
Don't say Taylor Swift. And don't say Blake Lively.
No, I think right now the current fan cast is Sydney Sweeney.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel like you have to, like, Sydney Sweeney is like, she's taken the world by storm in the last year. Everybody's enamored by her. And I feel like with Black Cat, I almost wouldn't even like put her in a trailer. Like, she should be stunning and somebody that like most people won't recognize. That way, when she like makes her introduction in the movie, everybody is feeling the same thing that Peter's feeling.
Like Gal Gadot with Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
she wasn't a known movie star at that point.
Yeah,
but she just burst onto the scene as Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah, so I think it should be something like that, because we should feel that as the audience, like, we should feel that enticing danger that Peter is feeling. Mm-hmm. Because I think if it's already some attractive superstar that we all know, it's harder. Like, it's just going to be like, yeah, obviously.
It takes you out of the character.
Thing. Yeah. But it should be like you should be afraid, but that fear is not stopping. Like, you're like still walking towards it, and you have like this weird hesitation, but you're not stopping.
Well, we'll put you in charge of casting for that.
It should be conflicted feelings.
Yeah, that's great.
Because it's like, she's not good, but she's way too hot, and you can't like that's. I mean, that's her whole. That's her whole thing.
That is the character.
Like,
that is the character,
and that's why Peter struggles, because he knows everything about it is wrong.
Yeah,
but she is just like, she's way too hot, and he just can't seem to say no to Black Cat.
Well, he is a teenager.
Yeah, so
it fits, right?
Yeah,
he's like 18. Come on.
Totally. Yeah. So
I love it. That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I want to see Devil's Reign, just because I want to profit off it too. So,
well, that's why I kind of like Franklin Richards. Like, let's go. I did that whole sleeper last time.
Yeah.
Some of her, when you said Negative Zone, you made me think of something. I would probably want to put somehow in there. Maybe it's at the very end of my FF concept, or maybe it's part of the post-credit scene. Somewhere along the way, Annihilus has to come in, because Annihilus and Franklin Richards are so uniquely tied.
Yeah,
but that's for another episode.
Yeah.
But that's cool, dude. I love it.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job.
I think we both did pretty well.
We should be able to at least concept a story, because these are universes we know well and we love, just like everybody who's listening or watching probably, has their hopes when they go to see a movie. It's kind of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
We're just realizing what we hope it would be.
Right.
You want a street level story, and you want to see Spidey and Daredevil team up, and it's time for Black Cat to make her appearance. But I love the concepts, but I just have to applaud the way you wrote it too. Like, you wrote it in a very, I didn't write anything. I just thought, here's what I would do. But you wrote yours in a very compelling way. It was just fun to just sit here, and it was like I was in one of my classes, just kind of listening to like someone who's like would be the best student in class, reading a story, and I'm like, well, I don't really have much to say except, wow, it was really good. What else do I say?
It's my first time writing fan fiction.
Yeah, well, I understand why people love to do it.
Yeah,
because you get to play in the world that you love.
Yeah.
You know?
It was very, I will say, it was very like satisfying because I got to satisfy some of my own frustrations.
Yeah.
So it was like, man, I don't need these bigwig studio heads who don't care about the character at the end of the day. They just care about the dollar sign behind the character.
Neither one of us is, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but I think I wouldn't be wrong to say neither one of us would call ourselves like artists, like painters and drawers, right? Me for sure.
No, I can't even draw a stick figure, right?
But so we're the same. But I don't know. It would be we ought to come up with a comic book.
I think it'd be fun.
You know, collaborate on something.
Yeah.
You know, create our own universe. Like we could do it.
Yeah, I think people when I see people do their own comics and they always veer away from superhero. I think people are like scared to do like a on the nose superhero, and I guess it's like really risky because there's so much competition and it's like there's so little room to like be original because there's so much out there. But I think that's more fun.
I think it's more fun, and I like the challenge of it. Not knocking anything because I'm a big fan of the offbeat stuff, but you know, I think in some ways the choosing sort of the bizarre, weird thing can also start to become a cliche.
Yeah.
You know, as much as we're afraid of, well, if I do a superhero, it's a cliche. You sometimes you're like, oh, okay, I'll come up with, you know, anthropomorphic characters that are really cute looking, but they're actually serial killers, and you know, and you know, I recently read a comic series like that I liked that was almost in that way. It was Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. Yeah, that was actually a really good series, really well done. But you know, even that is a little bit formulaic. Like it's got that. Well, let's take the benign and make it really malignant. Let's make it really dark, and we'll put it in a comic book, which is also like a benign format.
Yeah.
Traditionally, and we'll take advantage of that juxtaposition of those two, you know, diverse elements, and you know, that's a way to go, but it doesn't have to be the default thing.
Yeah.
You know, all the time.
Yeah.
You know, how do we turn this whole thing on its head and totally, you know, that can get predictable too.
Yeah.
So let's just go the other way and do something predictable that's so predictable it's unpredictable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If it's done right.
Well, that was fun.
That really was. That was cool, man.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments what you think. If you'd like to hear our full kind of storyline.
We'll do a whole beat sheet on the movie, and then maybe even write a treatment, and eventually each write our own scripts. Maybe we have the time.
Yeah, so we'll come back, let's say November, because October's a little busy.
Yeah.
And I know you'll get some breaks in November, and you'll be well into the school season by then.
Yeah.
So we'll say November sometime. We'll come back before Thanksgiving at least. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And maybe I won't write as much, or maybe I will, or you will too.
Yeah.
I don't know. But we'll at least have a full thread of a story.
Yeah, here it is.
From
Act 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. So
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Now it's in my head.
Yeah. All right. So cool. Yeah, let us know what you guys thought about that. That's a fun little.
That was really fun.
Fun little exercise for me because I wrote. But
yeah, well, both we both consider ourselves writers.
Yeah.
And we
my favorite hobbies include not writing.
But that's the thing, right? It's like a lot of writers, you know, where do you fit it in a busy life? But this kind of compels us to, and when you get into that again, you knock the cobwebs off and you go, oh yeah, I forgot how much I like this.
Yeah.
How much fun it is.
I kind of hit a groove where it was just like flowing last night. Like the first few, like from the web swinging sequence to the jewelry store, like a lot of that, like I just ended up going back and rewriting.
Yeah.
But once I got to that point, everything else was just like,
yeah, that's a great feeling, isn't it?
That scene in Bruce Almighty when he's just like typing.
You're no longer writing. You're just reporting what your imagination is seeing.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, let us know in the comments what you thought. We're going to take a break, eat some Jersey Mike's, and we're going to go film a couple more things, but yeah, enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are, and we'll catch you later.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.